Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. I am your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he also doesn't care for the Beatles, sweet Shanzi Kovacs from the internet.
That was the weirdest take in the entire movie. So strange. I mean, I laughed out loud when I saw that part. It was very funny.
I don't care for any of this crap. This 4-4 time. I don't. No, thank you. Today we're talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We're told it's going to be the last Indiana Jones film that they've ever made. Promises. How many times we've been told that before? I think.
No kidding.
I mean, literally, the third film was called The Last Crusade.
They've been saying that my entire life.
Unbelievable. But will we see Indiana Jones go into the great beyond on this one, or, live to see yet another day? We'll talk about it in a moment. But before we do want to say a thank you to everyone that supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, dinger zone, that whole 9 yards. We appreciate all of you guys coming in. And again, it's the top of the month. And we do want to say thank you to all of you guys that are in at the $40 level, $20 level, and of course, all the fine people that support this program. Just check out the show notes. That's what I always want to tell people too, is like, people may not realize this, but if you're executive producer and stuff, you get you're in the show notes every single week. So go check all that stuff out. Get your thing, and you can put that on a business card. Executive producer, and when anybody asks you, we'll vouch for you. You become a big shot. You're a big time Hollywood big shot. Except it's not Hollywood; it's the internet. So just crib it like that as best you can. But
put it on your resume.
Put it on your resume. Listen, again, most people lie about their resumes and the things that they've done and all the, accolades that they've had. And, this one, you've actually helped produce this show. I can't tell you how many
resumes I've seen that are just chock full of lies. Everyone's a liar.
I worked in the Van Buren administration. Like, I don't know that that's true. You're 23 years old. No. Martin Van Buren. I kind of worked in his office. But you could help this show, patreon.com/HMP, or just drop over to iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
I got them over at Spotify, too. Give us Spotify Humdinger.
I don't know how to say that in Scandinavian.
We got homework for next week, I think. But again, thank you to everybody that supports this show. It really means a whole bunch. Let's get into it. Here is the IMDb plot line for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Let's start again. Archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. That's almost every Indiana Jones.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, that is what it is.
It is what it is. It's as vague and everything as you can get, but hey, that's kind of what we can work with. This is directed by James Mangold, written by Jez Butterworth and John Henry Butterworth, or as I call them, the Butterworth Gang. Also, David Koepp and James Mangold worked on that screenplay as well. My guess is they probably went through and did all the fancy rewrites and stuff. Of course, based on characters by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman. I'm sure Indiana Jones had a lot of comic books and stuff back in the day. Yeah. Bruce isn't here, but he's one of those ones that let me ask you this. Do you think Harrison Ford gets likeness rights when they do that?
He has to, because at least on the Dark Horse ones, those are the only ones that I know. It's his face on the cover. Like, it's his face on the cover of Indiana Jones and the Search for Atlantis or something. It has something to do with Atlantis. And it's definitely his face on the cover. So there is no way that Harrison Ford is letting you take his face and he's not getting money for it. There is no way that's not happening.
No, at that point, and that's the thing. I think everybody forgets that, Harrison Ford started his career in his 40s.
30s.
Well, late 30s, early 40s, when he finally kind of kicked and, got gigantic and everything. So it's I don't know. It's just kind of, he's
35 years old when he's playing Han Solo.
Was it 35? I thought he was a little older than that.
He might be 36, but he's definitely 35.
But yeah, so that guy's he's been around forever and a day. But let's talk about kind of our relationship with the original indie movies and stuff like that. I grew up in a household where they were just kind of played all the time, and my guess is if you were anyone living in America over the last 30 plus years, you saw them on TBS or TNT constantly.
For me, I liked the first to Indiana Jones movies. As I grew older, I started to like more and more the Raiders of the Lost Ark. That movie just got better and better as I got older. When I was a kid, I didn't appreciate it nearly as much because it seemed like it was a good movie. I liked it, but it wasn't something that I kept returning to.
Mm-hmm.
I was way more of a Star Wars / Transformers / GI Joe kid. And so I liked it a lot. But it wasn't until Last Crusade where I was all in with the Indiana Jones stuff. And that movie, I was a sophomore in high school, I think, when I saw that movie, and it just hit me at the exact perfect right time. And so from there, I went backwards on all the Indiana Jones movies, and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark for what it is, and then the Temple of Doom. It was good. I had problems with it, but I had different problems than I do as an adult. When I saw that kid, when I saw that when I was younger, that was one of the movies where I was like, this feels different, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like that's how it felt to me as a kid. But then, Last Crusade, it was like, it just was perfect in every way, and it was exactly what I needed to see during that time, and that was really the one that cemented my love for Indiana Jones. Now, Indiana Jones is something where I understand there are people who are like, this is the greatest movie hero of all time. I get it. I totally do. I can see where you would say that. It's just not mine. So I like this character a lot. I don't love the character. So I don't feel the character is as precious as some people would. And that's how I went into this movie over the weekend.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, kind of the same. Like I saw Last Crusade in the theater, 1989. And because I mean, talk about a year between that and like Batman, and like 1989 was just
it's a big year.
Ridiculous when it came to movies. But yeah, that was one that like I just so vividly remember seeing and everything. And again, that was like, it was another big, because I had seen the first two Indiana Jones movies a bunch on video and stuff. And of course, now I was also seeing James Bond being an Indiana Jones movie. And it was just like, when you're like 7 years old, that's like the biggest, best thing in the world. You're like, wait a minute, all of these things are coming together at once? Unreal. And of course, you knew that was Han Solo at the exact same time. So it was just like, boy, what a nerd event that was. So I enjoyed that. And then, of course, we had in 2008 with Crystal Skull and everything. I don't think any of us really, thought that was a great movie by any kind of stretch of the imagination. I saw it the one time in the theater. I think I even bought it on Blu-ray and then tried to watch it. I think I may have watched it one more time just to go like, well, maybe I might find a little something. And it's like, no, it's about the same as you remember. And
I got to the monkeys the second time I saw it, because I actually own the Blu-ray of it, because it seemed like a good idea at the time.
They were super cheap. Like for whatever reason, they would like, they put those out and they like cost nothing. So like it was easy. It was an easy pickup at the time.
And I got to the monkeys and I was out. And the thing about that about Crystal Skull for me is that the joy of Indiana Jones is the practical effects, even when they're not actually practical. Those original ones, like there's some really bad blue screen in a lot of those movies, especially now. It doesn't hold up. And the stuff of like, when in Last Crusade, when Indiana Jones is walking across the yawning pit of despair as he's spelling out I can't even remember the name.
Please excuse Yahweh. My dear Aunt Sally.
Yahweh. And so he's it looks really bad. But with all that being said, it's part of the charm of those movies, right? So when you have these like glossy, crappy special effects in computer effects in Crystal Skull, it just looks so out of place with those movies.
There's so much of it, and then and granted, listen, I like the man trying to push the medium and do different things and stuff, but then Spielberg tries to go a little over the top, and then combining like these camera movements with that background and everything, it only accentuates how fake and stupid it all is, and you're just like, oh, well, this ain't even real. And like, I felt like that with John Wick 4, where there were times where I'm just like, oh, what I'm just watching here is just a big CGI glob of nothing here, and I don't feel anything from it. Same idea I would feel.
And so going into the new one here, it was the one thing I didn't want to see was a ton of CGI effects.
And then and then we got this movie. Well, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this new Indiana Jones movie, because this sucker's got everything. We've got old Indy, young CGI Indy. So you know we got some Nazis. We got flashbacks, callbacks, the Beatles, the spear that stabbed Jesus, a clock you won't find, the clock that you would find in a sharper image in 1997. We got Zolar, a giant man who's not really giant, just as much as Harrison Ford, just a tiny little fella. Dignan makes an appearance. We're told why Mutt Williams doesn't make an appearance. We got Gimli. Puss in Boots, Foxy Brown, Hannibal Lecter, gun shooting, whip cracking, eel wrestling, train topping, horse riding, bug crawling, time shifting, face punching, no replacement for displacement, and an ending that kind of makes it all worth it. This movie shows us, if this movie shows us anything, it's that having a facial deformity can't stop you when you got all that talent. This movie's got everything.
Man. You know, and there's spoilers from here on out.
Yes.
For the new movie. We've held off for long enough. So one of the things that this movie gets absolutely right that the last one didn't get right is the hilarious face punching. There are a lot of really funny face punching in this movie. The very first one we see with Indiana Jones is he knocks on the window of the car. Guy rolls down window. Indiana Jones punches him straight in the face. It is great.
You know, now that you mention it, I forgot that has always kind of been a little bit of a running gag.
Yes, the holding your hat up over someone's face and then punching them.
That's brilliant. I love that so much. I was just like, oh Lord, ever I have a hat in my hand, rare case that I do. But I enjoy and of course need to have that happen at the same time. So the really odds are not in my favor. But if I have those things happen, I know how to handle myself.
It's almost gentlemanly the way that he punches people in the face, also, which I've noticed in this movie.
I think that's more because Harrison Ford's not the most athletic guy in the world, and we'll talk about it later, I'm sure.
The tapping someone on the shoulder, making them turn around so you can punch them in the face.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It's so good, man. And this movie has that in spades. And I didn't realize how much that Indiana Jones movies need that sort of like physical comedy, because it's so lacking in Crystal Skull. And it's in spades here. I think there's a lot to recommend this movie, right? Like like I was telling you before the show started, and you can listen to it on patreon.com/HMP, is that this movie here, there is very little stupid moments in this movie. There's a few, but there's not nearly as many as there are in the last one. And I would go so far as to say there's less stupidity in this movie than there is in Temple of Doom. And I know everybody loves the first three Indiana Jones movies, and of the third one, and of those three, Temple of Doom is basically regarded as like the Return of the Jedi of Indiana Jones. However, you know, if that movie was released today, Temple of Doom, if we got Temple of Doom instead of Dial of Destiny, nerds everywhere would be ripping their faces off because they can't believe that they did this to their Indiana Jones.
Yep.
And this is not that movie. This is a movie where it's like, look, we're going to give you the hits. You like seeing Nazis with Indiana Jones? We're giving you Nazis. You think Mads Mikkelsen makes a great bad guy? We're putting him in this sucker too.
So do we.
and you know, and there's all of these hallmarks to an Indiana Jones movie with a few surprises thrown in. I was really surprised with a couple of things. Like I never expect there to be character development with Indiana Jones, and it happens in this movie. And it was a nice surprise, quite honestly. I did not expect it. And to have him in such a low place at the beginning of this, and to have him kind of figure his stuff out by the end, it was a nice surprise, because I don't expect that from an Indiana Jones movie, and it's there.
Yeah, when they said that Spielberg wasn't returning for this one, and it would be James Mangold to take over the reins and everything, I thought for sure right there. I was like, you know what, we're in at least pretty decent hands at that point. I'm like, I don't think that he would make a horrible film. He may not make an excellent film out of Indiana Jones, because it's a tough road to hoe for anybody at this point, especially given the time difference and how the age of the character and everything and stuff, now the age of the actor and everything now. So it's a tough road to hoe for anybody, but I was just like, if there's anybody outside of like Spielberg, I think he would be a good guy to do it. And like, I think he takes all the best stuff from the first three indie movies, and especially because I guess they reference two more than anything, but like he brings back the feel of it, not necessarily like some of the actual kind of scenes and like little callback, sort of things that we'll get to, but just a lot of the feeling of what made Indiana Jones, and he gets that apparently, and and it shows on screen, and I think that was the biggest part, is that while 20, 30 minutes into this, it was just like, you know what, this just feels like an Indiana Jones movie.
It does.
And that's a great compliment for something that is so far removed from even its 2008 sequel.
And even more so, it looks like an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes.
Like you have the wide sweeping vistas, you have the action set pieces feel very action set piecey. There is an excitement to the camera that was not there in the last in the last movie. And Mangold, remember how everyone was saying, and myself included in this, is that when it came to man, as I'm getting older, I'm blanking on everyone's names now. The guy who directed episode 7 and episode 9,
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams. The thing that everyone said about J.J. Abrams is that J.J. Abrams, this was said as a positive thing, that he can make a show or a movie look like the person who made it in the first place. Like Super 8. I think I even said that on this show, Super 8 was a movie that looked like a lost Spielberg movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Mangold can do the same thing, where Mangold movies don't look. I couldn't look at a Mangold movie and go, well, that's a Mangold movie, without knowing that he directed it, right? Because all of his movies look different, whether it's Copland or whether it's Logan or Night and Day, all of these things. Yeah, I have no idea. 3:10 to Yuma. It's unbelievable that these were all directed by the same person.
It's like, here's a Western, here's a future cyberpunk thing, here's it's all over the place.
Walk the Line, Ford versus Ferrari. Like this guy has directed, so he's a chameleon with his work. And not all of these movies that we've just mentioned are great, but some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are really, really good.
I know plenty of people who think that Logan is the best superhero movie that's ever been made.
It's just okay, people. Pump the brakes.
It's okay.
It's not bad.
I would lump it in with the good X-Men movies.
Yeah. That sounds about par.
Right. And so, when he comes in to direct this thing, I think if it were J.J. Abrams, there would be just an insane amount of backlash to it, because of him being on Star Trek and then on Star Wars, and how Star Wars ended up, even though that was an impossible
it's
task
like it felt like he was a nepo baby who's not related to anybody.
Right.
We're just like, listen, he gets another swing at it. Let him go.
But the fact that they chose James Mangold was a really good choice, I think, because he's going to make it look like Spielberg to a point, and he did. I think that this movie looks like Spielberg directed it. There's not a bunch of oneers like Spielberg loves to do, the long one, you know. But the camera work looks like it. The lighting, well, that's more the cinematographer, but the choice of lenses used, all of these things, the choice of angles, like that's all Spielbergian, and it feels like a Spielberg movie without it actually being Spielberg.
Even the direction the action direction feels like a combination of Mangold and Spielberg. There's definitely he left some Spielberg influence and stuff in there because again, just like how things are paced and edited and where he decides to put the camera to really illustrate to you what's going on, because despite, the billions of things going on at the moment, you still have a pretty good idea where everything is for the most part. And, Spielberg tends to be one of the people that, does that better than anybody else.
And, I think that what you're going to get, just to look at the overview of this movie, and then we'll get into nitty gritty, is that I think that you're going to get a lot of hit pieces on this movie for the first year, or, like the 3 months, 2 months, 1 month that this movie's in the movie theater for, because it's not doing
because everything is rolling in and out super fast. Like, just to give everybody an idea, if you haven't been kind of looking at stuff, I think they said within the next month, Flash will be out on Max and stuff. So like, we ain't messing around no more. Like, if it ain't successful, it's going to streaming real fast. So the world is getting topsy turvy real quick.
I mean, Wes Anderson had his most successful opening to a movie of all time with Asteroid City. It's going to be out on streaming in 4 weeks.
Well, if it's any, indication, it'll be out on Criterion Blu-ray by like 2040. So
there you go. I know you've got it in your bonnet about Criterion. Stuff.
Yet I gave them $25 more today getting Thelma and Louise on 4K. You so-and-sos, why do you have this sale twice a year? You get my money every time. And you know what's even worse? They even do it for the new releases and stuff. So when After Hours comes out, like in 2 weeks, I'm going to buy that for 50% off too. You got my money, you so-and-sos. Go on. I'm sorry.
And, you're going to get a lot of hit pieces, and you're going to be hearing about how terrible this movie is. And the fact of the matter is, it's not. I'm going into this without an agenda. I'm going into this as someone who I like Indiana Jones, and I want to see a good Indiana Jones movie. And that is what I got. I got a good Indiana Jones movie, not a great one. And as I said before on the pre-show, I believe that the movie that we have been delivered here is a good movie, not a great movie. And within 2 years, you're going to be hearing these think pieces of, hey, you know what's not a bad movie? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Because it's not. It's not a bad movie. It's just a good movie. Like, you're not going to walk out of that movie theater mad unless you're some crazy Indiana Jones fan.
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of, if you're overly critical of things, or and you feel that, whatever idea that you have of who Indiana Jones is in your mind, and this does not comport to that, those people, you were never going to be pleased ever.
Right.
You've got the first movie. Just watch the first movie, ignore everything else, and just be happy with that. I'm like, no one ever takes those things away from you, even when sometimes they try to. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were looking in your direction.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
everybody complains about the original Star Wars, myself included. How about we get the original ET back also? That'd be nice.
Oh no, we have that. We have that now.
Oh, we do?
Yes, thank Christ. Steven Spielberg has admitted to his mistake and has said that, that will not appear in anything else. Like, he's going back to all of his stuff. He admits his wrongdoing. He's made amends. Thank God. He's like, and he says, and I won't be doing that to any other movies. He's like, he's learned his lesson, and that's all we need. Just learn your lesson.
Very good.
George, however,
never gonna learn,
no.
And everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. I'm right. Shut up.
So, member berries. There's a lot of them in this movie,
but it didn't feel like The Flash, where they were like.
There are 2 moments where it does feel like that, though.
Yeah, but like,
for me.
Okay, let's look again. Spoilers for everything. Let's just skip to the thing that I think is the best, and then we'll kind of get into the things that I don't like.
Do it.
I did not expect Karen Allen at the end.
Nor I, and it was a wonderful treat to
Oh,
have her there.
I am just like I am bawling my eyes out, and the reversal of it doesn't hurt here. I'm like, that's just you
Yeah,
can
wonderful.
that little callback, whatever. I'm totally for that. I am okay with that. What a way to end this movie, and dear God, please end it and have this be it. What a glorious, fantastic ending it would be for this character if you never touched it again. Oh, one of the just a highlight for me, that whole thing right there.
Well, as you know, I believe that they're going to make more of these, and I think that the way that they do it, if they listen to me, as I said, I think year one of HMP is I had an idea, which is that you make a fully grown Asian man, then like you call him Short Round, and but he's now Indiana Jones. He used to go as Short Round, and now he's Indiana Jones, and you get some badass Asian dude to play Indiana Jones. Not everyone's going to be super happy with that, but you're going to keep making movies.
I mean,
and so this is how you do that.
we do kind of have that guy around still, and he's kind of
He is, but he's not someone, and he's wonderful. Make no mistake about it. I'm not gonna butcher his name.
Quan. You could just say that.
Okay, I'll call him Quan. So Quan is great. He's wonderful. Doing the rounds during Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Doing the short
By the
rounds.
way, he is literally the most perfect person you could have put in that movie. I know that originally they wanted Jackie Chan. The movie would not have been nearly as successful if you would have cast Jackie Chan in that role. He is not right to be the new Indiana Jones. He's just not.
But what if he was bumbling though, and it was fun?
Well, that's a different story. But then you're not really making another Indiana Jones. You're making like when Peter Sellers died, and they kept making Pink Panther movies with his sidekick. Like that's what you're doing. and so you get some badass Asian dude to play the new Indiana Jones. He's super handsome. He's a badass. You have him do enough martial arts to where it's like, yeah, he can do martial arts, but you don't make it a kung fu actioner. You make it an Indiana Jones movie.
It's going to be Henry Golding, because that's the only Asian that Hollywood knows. They're like, he's a handsome man. Put him in there. Handsome Asian man, Henry Golding. You get in there, boy.
And so that's how you do it.
Yep.
For me, the member berries, to get back to that point.
Yes.
The member berries that drove me crazy is, look, I understand that Sallah is in more than one Indiana Jones movie. So it seemed like he was totally left out of the last one.
Mm-hmm.
There is too much focus on him for a movie that is roughly 4.5 hours long, I'm guessing.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to chew up a little scenery. Enjoy me. You enjoy me.
And John Rhys Davies, that is what no matter who else is on the screen with him, John Rhys Davies is going to let you know he's there.
I believe you should be looking in my direction right now. I'm like, yeah, we are. You know what tipped us in that direction? The 300-pound man with a fez on his head. That's what kind of like we have to kind of look at you, because that's what you present to us, and then you're constantly gestating and moving your hands and stuff and talking. We can't help but look at you, sir.
And John Rhys Davies and John Goodman seem to be in some sort of competition for man who looks like someone melted the guy that we liked.
You remember the movie Thinner, don't you?
That's what's happening with these two gentlemen.
Just get a little gypsy curse in you, and it's like, oh no.
And don't get me wrong, I think that they both look great.
Yes,
but they are. It is weird to see John Rhys Davies just as some old guy, like just some regular ass old guy. He's not some fat old guy. He's just some regular guy with a fez.
Yep. Did you know that who's looking real good right now? Wayne Knight.
Oh, but he was well on his way to that a long time ago too.
But
right?
he's had some ups and downs as a lot of big folk do. But he's been. I saw a video of him talking at a con recently. And I was just like, he looks real good.
Because it seemed like after he played to get back to your Punisher Warzone, when he was in Punisher Warzone, he was not nearly as big as he was in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, he even admitted it, and like he was talking about that in one of the scenes. He was just like, "That was the biggest that I was in my entire life." And it's like, while it all turned out great and it looks really good, and I'm proud of what we did, he was just like, it was the most miserable time of my entire life. He's like, I was so out of shape, and then they're like, "Okay, we're gonna put you in the rain for the entire time, and then we're gonna shoot crap in your face." And it was just like, it was the most miserable time of my entire life. It's like, I love the result, but boy, it sucked.
And you're going to do nothing but scream for 2 weeks.
Yep, we're just going to put you in just a giant bath of water that you're going to be in, and you're just going to have this animatronic dinosaur spit crap in your face for 2 weeks straight. Good luck. But you get to be in a Spielberg film, so like, I don't know. I ain't complaining.
My favorite memorabilia in this is when they're talking about the eels in the water. And he goes, they kind of look like snakes. And
Oh, come
goes,
on.
no, they don't. No, they don't. That's the best one to me.
To me, it was just like, we could have just left it. We could have just not that is what's cool about it. That is what's fun, is that they are snakes. They are essentially just water snakes. Do you have to tell us that out loud? Because I think we all, as a species of anyone who is going to see this PG-13 rated film in the year of our Lord 2023, knows that eels are essentially just, for all intents and purposes, water snakes, right? So we know, we put it together. We don't have to have you say those words out loud. It was like, that's the part that I had a problem with. I like the idea, but you know what I don't like, though? Honestly, as cool and interesting as the scene was for all of the eels and stuff, that could go. It doesn't need to be there. If you took that, it's a large chunk that takes a huge amount of time. I'm sure just costs an ungodly amount of money to execute. It could have been taken off and helped make this film shorter. As cool as I like it, it should have hit the floor.
Mm-hmm. Third act of this movie, surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect that to happen, because we have that big 20-minute opener where he's a young man. Well, not young, but he is a younger
comparatively, which, by the way, again, looks, the CGI, we're getting better. We're obviously getting better. Yep. What we haven't gotten yet, and something that I think I've definitely noticed on this one, is they don't like to blink. They don't like them blinking. Because when they blink, I think they know that we know it's fake. Because whenever there's like important lines and stuff, like he's just talking and he's not blinking, I'm like, nope, he would not deliver those lines without having his eyes closed at some point. That's not how we as humans dramatically talk. You blink in there. And they don't like doing that because it looks fake, I think. And that's what, and also the other thing that really just still drives me bananas that no one seems to understand, even the people that work at freaking ILM do not understand, is that the voice sounds old. It still sounds old, people. You have to adjust that voice and make it sound like a young man's voice. You got somebody's body to, CGI run around and stuff like that. We definitely know that because, that guy could move. And I know that 75-year-old Harrison Ford don't move like that. But, I also know that his voice doesn't, 40-year-old Harrison Ford doesn't sound like he's 70. So get it together. Yeah. I'm just like, that's the little things that, like, you spend so much time trying to de-age this man when you could spend 10 more minutes just juicing his voice in post and making him sound like he's not, a geriatric.
I do have to say that is one of my favorite sequences in the movie, though, is younger Harrison Ford with Toby Jones running on the train. That stuff is great. Again,
it's because he directs that like Spielberg does.
Yeah,
all of that stuff feels like, I'm going to, especially specifically the World War II stuff, felt like he was just going, I'm going to shoot this as close to how Spielberg would actually shoot this. Of course, there's probably a couple things in there that are obviously different, but it feels like he was definitely trying to stay true, especially during that era.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but Toby Jones doesn't he feel like someone who was in the original Indiana Jones movies?
He's just got such. I love that man's face. He's just got a great character actor face that, like you said, you could put him in something in the 1970s to, today. It doesn't matter. The guy just has one of these timeless character actor faces that's a dude that you've seen in the real world. Not that exact dude, but that dude, essentially. and he's just so good at it, and he just falls into any kind of role too. Like I know a lot of people are used to seeing him in the comic book things where he's like a German scientist or something, but he's done so many other things as well. But he's just one of those guys that like whenever he shows up,
Yeah,
I'm like,
sometimes he's a
perfect.
British scientist.
Yeah. See, if you want to see like one of the trippiest movies of his, it's called Bavarian Sound Studio. It will it'll freak you out. It'll flip you out a little bit. It's kind of a horror-y sort of mind trip kind of thing. But a couple years ago. Good stuff.
He seems to me like a miniaturized Philip Baker Hall.
Yeah, like his older cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about her at all, but we got Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't know why I always have to say her name like Con Supa Newsomphone does, but like that's just that her name just sounds like Con would say it like that.
It's true. I think she's amazing. I know that she's not for everyone. I think she is absolutely incredible. I think the actress is incredible. I think that the performance is incredible. I think that the character is incredible. I love everything about her in this movie.
I don't like. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I know who she is, but like I'm not familiar really with any of her actual work or anything. Yeah.
Well, you know one of her things pretty well, because she's the robot in Solo.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yes.
So, but like, whatever. What's her big claim to fame? What's her big thing?
Fleabag.
Fleabag. That's what
wrote it and starred in it.
Yeah. So people made a big thing about that, and
as they should, because that is a great show.
I hear very good. So, but I never really watched it because you know me. When everybody says it's good, I gotta go. No, thank you. I don't believe you're correct at all. That's probably garbage.
I used to think that it was a bug. Now I think it's a feature of you.
So like I've never really watched it. So like I don't have an opinion one way or the other about her, but she comes into this thing, and so I don't really know what to expect, which I think is great.
Well, she comes in throwing a 75-mile-an-hour fast or 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So immediately I was like, wow, they are just going for it right out of the gate with her. That's amazing.
Yeah, she brought a lot to it. Somebody that can stand toe to toe with Harrison Ford, which is something that you need.
Yeah. And you can tell by her performance that she's not in awe of the man. There's some people that you can tell, like, I'm pretty sure Adam Driver thinks the absolute world of Harrison Ford.
Well, yeah. I mean, a man of his age would absolutely think so.
Of course.
Why would he not?
But Phoebe Waller-Bridge probably likes some of his work, but doesn't think he's the greatest actor to ever live. And yeah, he might have been the hottest man in the world in the early 80s. It ain't the early 80s anymore, so she's not affected by that part either anymore.
Yeah.
And so she's just giving what she's just giving what he is giving her. And they are so great together. I love their interplay. I believe that these two people have known each other their entire lives watching this movie. Yeah. I don't know how many people could pull that off with him.
Yeah, exactly. Because Harrison Ford is kind of it just seems like a very cold sort of dude. And like, if you're
he's a grump who doesn't really want to be there. He's there for the money for the most part, except for Indiana Jones. He seems to be really invested in, but for other things, he's just kind of there.
It's like, well, I showed up and they put a whole bunch of money in my pocket, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll be here and I'll say the lines that you put down on this piece of paper. I won't do too hard of that. I will say this though. I don't think, and I didn't count, but like, because I only started thinking, man, I should have been looking for this at the get of goes, and I didn't look at it afterwards. But I don't think Harrison Ford does any of his patented pointing acting in this movie.
Oh yeah, he does.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all of a sudden, I was just like, oh shoot, I should have been counting how many times he does his little, I'm pointing and talking to you, and that's what you're gonna know. Because I
don't know if he's pointing directly at someone in this movie, but he's definitely doing the point down to make a point. Mm-hmm. He is doing that.
Yeah, it's just like I got to point at something. Like half of his acting in most of the years has been him pointing, and I just wonder if he's kind of caught wind of that. Somebody's being like,
oh, of course, man. Are you kidding me? Of course. I mean, there's no way that his people aren't saying, hey, by the way, people are saying this about you on the internet.
You're pointing.
There's no way.
An awful lot.
I think that the other thing about Phoebe Waller-Bridge is that even she almost has a little bit of the Bill Murray in her, where even when she's being the absolute worst human being in the world, you still like her in this movie, which is really difficult to pull off. And she's doing it. You know, she basically leaves Indiana Jones for dead. And when he finds her later, you don't want him to kill her.
Yeah.
You know? And that's really hard to pull off, man. And I found myself rooting for her even when they don't tip your hand yet, that, oh, she is actually a good guy. And I found myself rooting for her before those moments, which is a testament to her, to the actress. And I think that there's probably 10 people on Earth who could pull this off, and she just happens to be one of them.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh, different, shocking, and that we get somebody that, you know, plays up against him and can go against everything that he brings to the table and does what he kind of used to do, as far as like that liveliness, that, like, you know, kind of get at him and everything. The thing that he doesn't have anymore, she's got that. She's got that adventurous side. It may not be, you know, the exact same type of thing that he did, but that youthful exuberance and stuff, she's got that now, whereas he's just kind of going like, listen, I'm just trying not to die over here. Yeah. Which, again, I like the juxtaposition of everything. Me and again, callbacks and stuff from the first film that aren't like the most obvious and stuff is, you know, when he's doing his lecture there in the first movie, all the ladies are enthralled with him and everything and what's going on, and he's doing all his explanation. Now everyone doesn't care. Everyone's falling asleep, and of course it's the space age now, so no one cares about that distant past and stuff. Which then, so let's kind of go in and talk about, you know, the wild and crazy of all of this and how.
Can I go backwards for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm going to forget this point if I don't make it now, which is that think of the chemistry that Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge have, and how much that propels this story, and how much that propels this movie to the end, right to the end of the movie. And you have that moment where, you know, you get a little teary-eyed at the end when he's like, well, what do I have to go back to?
Yeah.
You know, like that's a real, and what sells that is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, not Harrison Ford. It's Phoebe Waller-Bridge who sells that moment. And now think of all of those great moments with this movie. Now think of him with Shia LaBeouf. And think if any of this would have been pulled off successfully with that person.
No, but what a great, like, as much as, like, you know, everybody kind of poo-pooed the character, what a sweet, amazing way to send that character off in this film.
Agreed.
So nice.
It is.
It's just like it adds to the, like, we get rid of a character that you didn't want to have there. There's a time and a place and a reason to do it. There's an excuse to do it, and it adds to the story and makes things more palpable and emotional and gives weight and gravitas to the situation. Amazing. So good.
Yep. And so, you know, when you look at, like, people's anger towards now the anger is gone towards Crystal Skull, right? It's just people don't like it.
Yeah, anymore, it's just like, oh boy, that one it swung for the fences and probably missed. So
that one stank, and nobody wants to see that movie. That anger is not going to be here for this movie. And the reason is in the performances and in the chemistry between these actors.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like I was saying earlier, you know, I don't think it's going to take very long. I think it's going to take 2 years before this movie finds its footing and everyone is going to basically be on the same page. Hey, you know what? This movie's pretty good. Like, how about you stop giving it crap?
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I think people are piling on the fact that it hasn't done very well in the theater, which I think Crystal Skull is the major proponent of that and the fact that Harrison Ford is 80 years old. And
we're just going back to the well too many times, and people feel it in their bones, and they're just like, oh, is this like, and that's the thing. If you're the average moviegoer, or not even moviegoer, but just average, you know, just public, you're going to look at this and just go like, oh, they're doing this again? You're going to be skeptical. At best, you're going to be skeptical of what this is, especially after Crystal Skull ripped you so many years ago. And that's a heck of a statement for that film to have, come out in 2008 and 2023. We're just going, that last one still stung a bunch. I don't know that I need to see this again.
So I rolled over the point you were trying to get to earlier about the magic of this movie.
Yeah. So, and Crystal Skull is actually a good point to do this in, because with Crystal Skull, one of the, I guess one of the many things that people had problems with within the movie itself was aliens. Really? We're doing aliens? Is this what we're going with now? I can't believe we're doing aliens. This is not, how much different is time travel than aliens? Let's be honest.
Well, the way that they do it in this movie, it's very different.
Well, at least it's, it's better. It's better executed. There'll be no argument there.
Far more. And they kind of trick you in the trailers for this movie, where you think that you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of young Harrison Ford running through this movie, and that's not the case.
There was part of me though, because I didn't really watch any trailers. I'd seen a couple, a couple seconds here and there, as you're bound to do, and then a couple of pictures and stuff. But I did not know how much old or young Harrison Ford would we have in this thing. And I sat there and I was like, well, I know they're not going to have him in there young for the entire thing, but I was like, could it be half the movie? I really didn't know. I was just like, how long are they gonna they can't do this for the whole thing. I'm like, no.
Well, the fact that they did it for 20 minutes, I was like, wow, we are still at young Indiana. Well,
yeah, it was ambitious.
40-year-old Indiana Jones.
It was ambitious to do, and then try to actually sit there with the audience and have the audience just go no, listen, bro, you looking at a de-aged Harrison Ford. That is what you're looking at right now. And we sat with it, and we put it in harsh light, specific, and that's what I thought was so bizarre. Is there are moments where they specifically point a light in his face very close up, making this really harsh light and everything, and it just exposes it all to hell. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Are you trying to impress me? But you're going, hey, watch this, watch me do this burnout, and you don't do anything. It just makes a little chirp.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like we were saying, man, I got to stop saying this, but like we were saying in the pre-show, that there are moments in this where it's absolutely perfect. The de-aging is absolutely perfect.
It looks so good.
Harrison Ford. And then there's other times where you're like, well, there's that uncanny valley. Remember that, man?
Mm-hmm. Yep, pops out there. And then because you're going back between him and Toby Jones, who has no de-aging. Yeah, that's just his face and everything. So maybe even just age granted, we won't see him later and it's more cost and everything, but maybe de-age him a little bit, so at least the faces look like they match a little bit more, like we're almost in a weird dream state or something, instead of well, that man got a CGI face on him.
Yeah, it would have added a bit to it.
Something.
Right.
I don't know, but that's my only thing. And again, they got to blink a little bit more and be able to so much of human emotion is in the tiny little nuanced movements of our faces and everything, the little tiny eye movements, little on everywhere, and we still haven't quite gotten that yet. And like you said, it's all about the eyes, and if the eyes don't work, the whole thing don't work. It all falls apart.
And to get back to the magic of this thing, if I can put us back on the rails. The most clever part of this script is the time travel element to it, because it's not the dial that's magic. It's basically a map that's showing you where to go, right? Which I thought was a nice touch. But the really clever thing is that they close the loop on this immediately. It's not something where well, why didn't they do this? Well, why didn't they do this? Because you see the bad guy's watch, you see Mad Mikkelsen's watch, and you see the propellers, the way that the propellers looked when the plane crashed. It's so specific.
Yeah.
And I thought it was I thought it was so deftly done, instead of doing there's not a million questions to, well, why didn't they just do this and why didn't they do that? It's a different way to do it, which I think makes it a far more clever script than what I expected to see in this movie. I expected nothing going into this, and for it to be a good movie, is such a bump up. Like I was so pleasantly surprised watching this.
Yeah, I went in again, I guess with after Crystal Skull, you go in with zero expectations and it's just like, oh, as long as it's not absolutely awful, and I think we need to do more of that in life. Lower your expectations, people. Just kind of, get into just say, I'll be happy that I got something if it's decent. That's what we need to just start doing. Put the bar at decent and be happy if it goes above that. And that's I think is the key to enjoying this one is just kind of go in with that sort of blank set. But if you've got something in your mind of like where you specifically think that, this all needs to go, you don't want to go here because it's just going to do nothing but disappoint.
Also, I have a question for you, and I know this isn't 30 questions, but this is a serious question. Whenever James Mangold hears that there is going to be a dirtbag in his script, do you think he just immediately calls Boyd Holbrook?
He does have just a scumbum look to him for sure.
He does, and he is in Mangold movies. Like, he's the guy who's constantly trying to murder Logan. And I think he's in something else that he made too. I can't remember the other thing I saw him in. But we need a dirtbag here. Hold on, let me call Boyd. Seems to be his go-to. And when you have Mads Mikkelsen and Boyd Holbrook in the same movie, like you're doing okay. Like you're already halfway there. Congratulations, because we want to see these people get ended badly. And that's part of the charm of this movie is that I want to see that guy get punched in the face, because Boyd Holbrook gets punched in the face no less than 5 times in this movie, and it's great every single time it happens.
Oh, and somebody mentioned this that Indiana Jones actually kills people and stuff in this film, as opposed to like Crystal Skull, where even though you're dealing with Nazis and stuff, none of them really died.
Well, they're communists, but yes.
Well, I forget. It's been too long. But anyways,
because he is murdering people like crazy in the first 3 movies.
Yeah, but like in the 4th one, not so much. But in this one, like we're finally getting back to like, all right, we're at least killing some folk. At least that's a thing that's on the table, and it's not. Oh, we got a Wilhelm scream. I almost didn't mention that. Great running gag.
I also like how much the character despises Nazis. Like, and it's been that way since the beginning, where like I think it's Last Crusade where he goes, Nazis, I hate these guys, and the way he says it makes you believe that he actually hates Nazis. He's not being funny.
We didn't talk about it. Like I mentioned her in the kind of little rundown here, but the black agent who's I'm not sure what her name is or anything, but she just looks like Cleopatra Jones. She just got like,
she looks great. Like her whole look was fantastic.
She looks so good. So iconography just pops with the second that you see her on screen and just cements that character like right away. You're just like, boom, I know who that is.
I had to look it up. The character name is Mason.
Mason. She was great. She was a whole lot of fun and stuff. And just like, and again, somebody that carries themselves in this movie where you got a lot of people that are kind of heavy carrying around in here, and like to, party with the rest of those folks and being able to stand up to it. That's a hefty feat.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm just trying to think of any other tiny little thing. Again, we have to complain a little bit about it. This movie's too long. This movie is 2.5 hours long. It needs to be 2 hours, and it'd be so much more fun if it was just 2. And there's so much that can go, and there's like some of it leads to some character development, and I'm not saying get rid of that stuff, but gosh, there's 30 minutes you can drop out of this bad boy. And again, I said like the eel fight is great, but it doesn't need to be in there. Like you could just take it all out and everything, and it doesn't really affect it one way or the other, but it would chop off 10 minutes.
Well, it's hard. I couldn't do it on a first watch to say what you need to cut out.
Yeah, it's a little tough on the first one.
Just because there's so much in this. I mean, for God's sake, Archimedes is in this movie for no less than 5. He's in it for longer than Antonio Banderas is.
Oh yeah, we literally didn't even mention Antonio Banderas.
Archimedes is in this movie longer than his Ronaldo character, the world's greatest diver. and like, how do you chop time? Because it felt like we needed to spend more time with Antonio Banderas, because seriously, when he shows up, it's like, oh man, like this guy's gonna be great, because he's great in everything.
Yeah, and he's having a
It's
lot of fun with this silly character and
Yes,
everything,
yeah.
and that's what's fun about it.
Yeah, he's definitely having a meal with this character with the limp and like he's an old sea dog, and like he's just having a great time
And
with
I'm
it.
happy he gets to play a Spaniard. I'm like, that's so great because he so few times gets to play his actual ethnicity. So I'm just like, oh,
Yeah, he's
good.
usually
It's
Mexican
like
or Mexican, or he's a Mexican
yeah, it's
guy.
something else, but like he's rarely like, oh, he gets to be a Spaniard. Oh, that's good for him. Like
True.
it's just like I got a fake leg. It's just going
It's
like
really
I
great.
love his hair. It's awful. It's just so much fun, that character. I feel like he had so much input on that. Just going like, what if I do this stupid thing? And they just were like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go ahead.
It is funny too that you've got him in this movie, and they ugly him up quite a bit,
Yeah.
because I'm guessing because Harrison Ford is in your movie. I'm guessing.
You need to make that man look like an imp.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's far more about this movie to recommend it than to smack against it. Like, I mean, even when they mention when he's stuck climbing that wall, and she's like, "Are you stuck?" And he goes, "I'm resting. Give me a second. I've been poisoned. I've had voodoo put on me." Like stuff, like like he's like name checking stuff,
And all the greatest hits.
and I found all of that great. Like I thought that was a great moment. I can't remember if I said it on the show or pre-show, but having the action be funny is such a bonus as well, because the last one, there was nothing funny. Like,
I don't know. That monkey combing his hair is pretty damn funny.
That is so awful. And to have this actually be funny, and I'm laughing along the way watching this movie. Although I gotta say, I watched this movie in my secret movie theater this week, my favorite one, and a lot of olds. There's a lot of olds.
Oh my Lord. We were full. We were chock-a-block full with old people. Get this. So I go to the 8 p.m. show on Saturday because I want to go see it in the nice Atmos theater and everything. By the way, and somebody know good on the Atmos and knows good about sound
saw it with Atmos
is James Mangold. James Mangold is a sound guy. He loves some good sound. Ford v Ferrari, woo, beautiful. Yeah. So the guy loves some good sound and stuff. And there's some great where they're like missiles or some crap overhead where it was like just really good stuff. So big applaud to that, but it still couldn't stop me from hearing the old people behind me yap about everything. I had to like give them a 1-2. It wasn't too like I didn't go. I was a lot nicer than I could have, should have been, but I gave them but it was just like they weren't awful. Thank God it was Atmos, so it was loud enough and it wasn't that bad. But you had to give them that like half look back a couple times, going, "Excuse me, what are we doing here?" And then it's just like, "Hey, you are not at home. Please be quiet." And I I yell, but I say please when I yell because that's it's polite, and usually they understand and they go like, "Oh, he's someone's being very serious. Maybe I should be quiet." And then they usually do, but not these people. No, they're old and they just do what they want to do. And it's their living room, even though they paid $14 a pop. Anyways, we need to find out how this movie relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Ooh.
Guten Tag, Herr Stallone. This week's Stallone connection was an easy one. For the first time this month, it was easy because this week's connection is Antonio Banderas. You've worked with him a lot over the past 30 years, starting with the 1995 movie Assassins, a movie that dares to ask the question, what if Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas were assassins? And the answer is they shoot things up pretty good. Looking into this movie a bit, there's a few things I didn't realize. Things like, one, this screenplay was originally written by the Wachowskis, and they hated the rewrite so much they attempted to get their names taken off, and the WGA said, nope, this one's on you.
You're taking the L.
Number two, Mr. Stallone, you were paid $15 million for this movie, and that's in 1995 dollars, which means you probably bought up most of the housing market in Silver Lake for that kind of money. Three, directed by Richard Donner, who thought the movie would have been better if you swapped the Stallone and the Banderas roles. Number 4, Mel Gibson liked the original script for this movie so much he was thinking about directing it himself, but when he got too wrapped up in Braveheart, he passed the script along to Donner, who turned it into a 1990 Sylvester Stallone movie, which looks like every other Stallone movie ever. The Specialist, Daylight, Assassins. It's all the same movie.
It's true.
But you and Antonio had such a good time together. You've worked on numerous other projects like Spy Kids 3 and Expendables 3. It's crazy to me that Expendables 3 will be 10 years old next year.
Wow.
That is how time is flying by, sir. I can only imagine how it feels to you. Banderas has 7 new projects, either in production or in post-production. And while he's in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny for less than 5 minutes, I think he's great in it. And it made me say, oh, right, Antonio Banderas is a gigantic movie star.
Oh, yeah.
So there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone connection is Antonio Banderas, who you've been working with for almost 30 years now. I hope to hear from you soon. Also, please note, I didn't make the Saturday Night Live joke from 20 years ago. Antonio, how do you say? Show. I didn't make that joke.
No.
You're welcome. Your pal, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
That Antonio Banderas, I think he's another one of those guys that's like, he's everything that you hear, probably just the best dude. Because, like, he's in everything. He's one of those guys that, you know, he's always going to be around and just go like, yeah, sure, I'll show up for this sort of thing and do a pretty good job at it. All right, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. I think I'll kind of go off here. For me, this is it's a Damian Wayne. Right down the middle, like it's not a bad movie. In fact, I'm actually gonna say a high Damian Wayne because it's not bad. It's a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, again, we had a lot to, I don't want to say live up to, but you were following something that was not so hot, and for the most part, everybody had that same kind of idea of like, are we just gonna get more of the same? Fool me once, you know, shame on me. But it's gonna. At least with this one, like you said, I think it's going to grow on people. I think people are going to come to this and go, you know what? We didn't give this a fair enough shot. I don't know what it's made. It didn't break 100 million at the box office. I don't know what it did, but it was not good. But actually, no, I think overall though. Wait a minute, hold on, because I had this 2 seconds ago because I was looking at it. Overall, worldwide, it's made 152 million. So it's not horrid. That's okay.
It's okay. I mean, you know, this thing cost probably $300 million to make.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that we're going to be hearing about how it lost money and blah, 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 blah. And none of that matters.
Well, at least it's Paramount now and not Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is like wiping their brow going, whew, thank God we're out of the news for half a second. Now Paramount's going to get a little bit of shade.
Well, hasn't, because Paramount's owned Indiana Jones since the beginning, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Just because
I misunderstood what you were saying.
WB's just selling off everything because they're just like, we're not making any money. Oh my God, all warehouse sale, everything's got to go. And we're selling off 100 years worth of cinema for pennies on the dollar.
Well, this is Disney now, right? I mean, this is probably a co-billing.
Oh yes, because
Disney.
You are correct. Disney was labeled in the opening titles, which I remembered now. That I see that because I was. You know, obviously a lot of the same sort of names and the font and everything for all this or has always kind of been the same. So you watch and see those familiar things. And this time, of course, you did see Disney in there as well as Paramount. You're right. Good point. You? Did I?
Yeah. For me, this is a Tim Drake. Yeah. I think because of the circumstances to me seeing this, I think that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is amazing in this movie, like legitimately amazing in this movie. Harrison Ford gives a crap, which you see from time to time. It's pretty amazing, and it's a surprise when you see it.
Yeah,
and he legitimately cares about it in this movie. I think it's the fact that there's a character arc, the fact that the time travelness of it all isn't the stupidest thing you've ever seen, which It totally could have been.
Which, by the way, when he is at that spot and everything where he is just like, I'm just going to stay here. This is it. I'm just like, man, oh man, Harrison Ford will not rest until every iconic character he's ever played has been put 6 feet underground.
Well, that's why I didn't think they were going to kill him. Like even during that scene, I was like, I don't think that they're going to leave him there. I think he's going home.
Yeah, part of me thought like, oh, maybe they will, but I was like, but you can't do that, can you?
There's no way. There's no way they were going to do that. And to have Phoebe Waller-Bridge knock him out, I mean, come on, man, that was so great.
It was good. Good. Wakes up. It's the perfect time, and like, what a way to end it all.
It's for me. This is a Tim Drake, and I think that over time, people are going to look back on this. If people even care, they're going to look back on this and think, you know what, we were too harsh on old Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah. Not a bad way if you're gonna end it all up that way. Well, we've ended up this here episode, everybody, and we're gonna talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment. In the meantime, Sean, what else? If this show isn't enough, if they want more of us, what are they to do?
We have got another show called Marvel 30 Questions, where we ask 30 questions of the newest episode of Secret Invasion on Disney Plus. So check that out.
It's no secret we're invading your podcast device every Monday. Boom.
He's a pro. That guy's a pro.
Next week, everybody, we are coming back, and it's a timely episode, not in a way that we would all like to, but we're going to rejoice in the life and look back on the life of Alan Arkin, because I don't know what you know, but there's an Alan Arkin superhero film out there called The Return of Captain Invincible, and it stars Alan Arkin and Christopher Lee. It's available on Tubi right now, and so Alan Arkin just passed, so we're gonna honor him by talking about his superhero film next week. And again, that's available on Tubi and Blu-ray, from what I've kind of seen on specialty video. So if you're one of those folks, you can chime in there as well. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for the return of Captain Invincible, and maybe the return of Bruce Leslie. Who knows? For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet and the absent Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
I'm Artie Needy.